Watch out, it's a live mic.
This is Mark McNeese in New York City, and you're listening to another edition of the Live Mic Podcast. Welcome to another podcast, everyone. This is Mark. I am in the New Jersey countryside this weekend, where my husband and I often spend our weekends. We have a small house in the woods. It is in the woods. And today I have an author as my guest. It's Grant Spradling, who recently had a book come out, and I believe it was in October that I was able to share at lgbtsenior.org. And Grant, how are you?
I am just fine. Just feeling wonderful. I went to a wonderful party last night, but I didn't drink too much, so I'm fine.
Good for you. I discovered a while back that because we just went through the holidays and New Year's, and they always have segments on TV because they have time to fill about hangover cures. And I said the best hangover cure is don't drink. I don't drink, so I don't get hangovers anymore.
Well, I think that's a very good advice. And my partner does not drink, and I'm grateful for that. And he counts my drinks. So.
Very nice. Now I had another thing that prompted. We were going to talk a while back. It didn't happen, but I got this lovely email from you about at the end of the year, and I thought I just really want to talk to Grant. I know you've got two residences. You're currently, as we're speaking, you're in. Are you in Yucatan or is it Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in Merida, Mexico. Merida, Yucatan, Mexico. The Yucatan is that thumb that sticks out toward Cuba. It's a peninsula, and Merida is the biggest city on the peninsula. It's about 18 miles from the Gulf of Mexico. Another way of locating it, if you were to fly straight across the Gulf from New Orleans, you would hit Merida.
Oh. Now, how did you end up with a home there?
Well, I came over here about 25 years ago to write. I'd been the Arts Council director in Key West, Florida, Monroe County in Key West, Florida, and I wanted to get away so I could feed my need to write,
Mm-hmm.
and rented a little maid's quarters. And one day I was walking down the street and the door to this house was open and a workman was working on it. I looked inside and I say that the house spirits, we have lots of spirits in Mexico, the house spirit said, "Save me." And so here we are.
Nice. And you also have another residence in Texas.
Yes, my partner is from the panhandle of Texas. He grew up in Dalhart, Texas, and I grew up in West Oklahoma, about 200 miles from Amarillo. And he wanted to be near his mother, who was aging, and so we decided to have a condo there and a home here.
Very nice. I know what it's like to have two homes because my husband Frank and I, we live in Manhattan, but we have a house out here. And I mean, we go back and forth so much that I find it kind of tiring, and I'm looking forward to someday mostly living in one place. Do you go back? Do you go between the homes often, or do you go to Mexico for a number of months?
Well, we go back about 2 or 3 times a year, back and forth,
Mm-hmm.
and we spend more time. We're spending more and more time in Merida, but we go to Amarillo for his family, and my family live in Dallas, so
Okay.
we usually take that in, and we do all the medical stuff. We when we go up there, we have our temperature taken.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to ask you about your writing, because I was introduced to you by Mr. Barham, And your book was the book in question is David Goes Home: Growing Up Gay in the Dust Bowl.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book and the writing process for that?
Well, I got this itch to write a number of years ago, and I must say that I've been dyslexic all my life.
Oh, wow.
I don't know I don't know how I got through school, but somehow I managed. And then along comes the computer, which helps me a great deal. But anyway, I started the book, and I didn't really know where it was going. But it turns out that it is a semi-biographical, and it follows my life growing up in Oklahoma, in the heart of the Dust Bowl. I was born at the beginning of the Great Depression, and
Wow.
right in the bullseye of the Dust Bowl. And with dyslexia, and some people might think that is a bad thing, but at this point in my life, I look back and I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for the small town and the help people have given me along the way. And I'm grateful for my partner of 47 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
We were married last year in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Really nice. Now, your bio says you were that you are a retired congregational minister.
Yes, I was ordained in the Congregational Church. That became part of the United Church.
Mm-hmm.
And I served two churches in Massachusetts after my graduation. And then I took an excursion, became a singer. I sang on Broadway in Broadway shows. I always had a high tenor voice, and so I could get jobs singing. And then I went back and worked for the national agency of the United Church in New York as an arts consultant. So I'm very, very grateful to the United Church. I'm grateful to the church I grew up in, the Methodist Church, because I went to Methodist universities, and I'm grateful for that education.
Is the book partly autobiographical?
Yes, it is. It's about really being many of the things about what it would be like to grow up in a small town. It was about the terrible fear of being discovered and being outed, and also the whole religious struggle, because you are taught that you are a sinner, and I grew up in a very in a culture that was if you didn't go to church, you didn't go anyplace.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about that. The sheriff in my hometown was murdered when I was a kid. I put this in the book, and this is all fiction,
Mm-hmm.
but I like to put a murder in my books to try to keep people to read to the end of the book.
Oh, yes, me too.
Find out who done it, But I weave that in, and I believe I don't think my actual solution to the sheriff's murder is not likely to be what really happened, but they never did discover who murdered the sheriff when I was a kid.
Wow, that's fascinating.
I've discovered, but it probably isn't the truth. And but I explore the fears that one has, and I realize that I have in recent years lived in an accepting culture,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we forget that there are still kids living out there in the small towns or maybe even in cities, terrified of discovery, terrified of really acknowledging who they were born to be. And I just, my heart breaks for them, not for myself, because I'm very grateful to what's happened, to the Supreme Court decision that my partner and I have a right to come out of the shadows
Mm-hmm.
and be proud of our relationship.
Yes, it's interesting because so much has changed, but much has not changed.
Right.
And like you're saying, especially for young people and also for seniors, because I have my LGBT senior website, and I'm pretty much an advocate for those of us getting older or old. And I mean, there's a lot of going back into the closet because of fears in whether it's assisted living or I don't know. It's just there are two ends of that spectrum, where you might be young and you're struggling with coming to terms with who you are or living openly, which I did at very young age. I came out in high school in Indiana a long time ago. But then we have aging folks who are worried that they're going to be discriminated against if they need care and this sort of thing. So a lot still needs to be done.
Yeah, yes, there does. I'm now 86, and I was telling a friend of mine last night, I keep being astonished and realize that our culture hasn't prepared us to be old.
Mm-hmm.
It's told us that life ends at maybe at 65 or something, and that we're just on a downhill slide. And I don't know. Well, I'm writing about it now,
Mm-hmm.
but the 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 role of the older person is an anomaly, I think, in our culture.
Yes. Yeah, and the broader culture, and also within the LGBT culture too. One of the things I've heard most from my peers and my elders is just that feeling of invisibility. It's like they're finished with you. You're 40 or 50, and they don't even want to see you anymore.
Exactly.
So I'm doing what I can about that.
My writers group, I belong to a writers group here. We have an English library in Merida, and fortunately there's a writers group, and we're putting together a collection of stories about being old. And I think a lot of them will be comical, and some of them will be quite serious. Uh, but that's yet to come. I'll let you know about it when it comes out.
Absolutely, please do, because I'm fascinated by that. I co-edited and published a book last year called Outer Voices, Inner Lives that is a collection of writers over 50. We had some writers who were just 50, and we had some who were 70, 75, and Patricia Now Warren wrote the foreword. So I would love to know about that. Please do keep me informed.
I absolutely will.
Now, I'm going to let you go, but it's been such a delight. I loved that holiday email that you sent out, and I'm so glad we finally were able to talk. It's been just a pleasure.
Well, it's fun for me, and remember that David Goes Home is available at Amazon, and I hope it entertains.
Absolutely, and I will include that in the post this podcast. I'm going to be putting these up on Wednesdays, so this will go up Wednesday morning, and I will send you the link, and I will also include information about the book.
Thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate it, and it was delightful talking with you.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day.
Great. Bye-bye.
Bye.